Before I open the floor for a wider interaction with the panelists, let me first give the floor to Andy Norton, who will be our first discussant. Andy is ODI's Director of Research and is a social anthropologist by training, having done his PhD in Mali amongst farming communities in the country. Andy has since worked on a number of issues related to poverty, social protection, citizens' participation, political economy in a variety of institutions, including DFID, the World Bank, NGOs, and latterly ODI. Andy, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and also many thanks to the four panelists. I'll be brief, because I'm sure there are a lot of questions for them. Really vivid and fascinating presentations. I'm going to focus actually on something that the panel didn't get to yet, which is a parallel discussion about restoring mainstream aid within mainstream development assistance to Mali in the context of, I think, the rottenness of the core public systems that Bruce spoke about, this incredibly complex and inconclusive status of the conflict dynamics, which Jeremy outlined very clearly, and also, of course, a situation where in standard international terms we don't have a legitimate government and a legitimate state. So there is, some of you will have picked up a momentum to return to the sort of normal or mainstream channels of aid delivery, which was suspended in March 2012 following the coup. I think the figure of 250 million euros by the end of the year has been mentioned in relation to the European aid programme. The Americans are also in discussion. And just highlight a risk that if there is an early appearance of success, and it's too early to say whether even that appearance will hold, that there could be a tendency to underestimate the scale of the task. The interim president, as some of you will have picked up, has committed to hold elections in July, or by the end of July, which, given that July is in the middle of the rains, would be a kind of odd commitment in a Malian context anyway, and clearly there are various other issues, in terms of being there for elections in July. One hopes that's a kind of placeholder and a target that can be moved back, but there are obviously concerns about the realism of that. Now, delivering development aid into this environment will clearly be very demanding. It has to run in parallel with the process of replacing an illegitimate regime with a somewhat more legitimate regime, at least in terms of public and international recognition. Simultaneously while dealing with the conflict dynamics. And perhaps the biggest problem of all is the one that Jeremy alluded to, which is replacing, over time, an illegal and criminal economy which underpins the dynamics of the conflict with a somewhat more legitimate economy, which is obviously a massive task and is not a short-term task. So just to say that in that context, as this development discussion moves in parallel with the humanitarian discussion, we will need to see this as a long haul. It's going to require a lot of support from the African Union and the global community, and also real determination to get to grips with understanding the context in the way that David outlined. So, I mean, there's the humanitarian crisis. In parallel, there's this very complex business of getting mainstream aid back, which does need to happen, but it needs to happen in the right way. So that's all I'll say.
Thank you very much, Andy, and thanks to all the panelists for sticking to time. That leaves us with an hour for question and answers, and I'm sure there is many of you that would like to pose questions, including our online audience, and I'll be taking questions from you as well.